success. You have the Ornn engage, you have the Zilean speed up, and Diana works very well when she has that initial CC to allow her to close the gap, but also if she's just diving into the middle of everything, she can get that Zilean ult to then immediately revive, which means that she doesn't have to be too afraid of just getting into the thick of things and looking for those team fights. So excited to see Nemesis on this Diana once again, and of course we are going to run it back with the Gangplank for Alphari here. Now the big difference in this matchup is that Nemesis shouldn't have easy mid-prio like he did in Game 1, which means that setting up dives on the top lane is going to be a lot harder. However, that doesn't mean that Gangplank is guaranteed to win this 1v1 matchup. Ornn, after he gets that Balmy Cinder, after he gets Sunfire Cape, can actually start to win out on a couple of these trades. But in this early laning phase, I'm expecting Alphari to have that initial prio, and let's see where Zeus is going to invest his early pressure.
And of course, we didn't mention it, but Olaf teamed up with a Yuumi late game or mid game can be devastating. It's not all about protecting the AD carry. Sometimes you can be a bruiser frontline facilitator, a catalyst to allow the Olaf to be a little bit more aggressive. You pop Ragnarok, then you pop the final chapter, and it's very difficult to get away. We're going to get into Game 2 of this best of 5. And as we jump onto the Summoner's Rift, Eddie, I want to regale you with some Nemesis Diana stats. He's played it 3 times this split, went 0-3-0 in the first game he played it against Origen, and they lost. He then got 4 kills in his second game, went 4-1-1 against Fnatic, and in the final game, he didn't get a single kill. Sorry, against Misfits. Okay. And then in the final game, he didn't get a single kill. He went 0-3-12. So he's only got 4 kills in 3 games on the champ. As you said, no real like super stellar standout performances. But as we've said, he does have a lot of facilitating tools here with Hylissang being able to speed him up and with the
I don't want people to think that I'm flaming Nemesis Diana here, right? Like, because the thing is, I'm a big Diana fan, and I know how she can 1v9 games, right? She has so much carry potential, and she has so much damage available to her. And I love, actually, that Nemesis goes for a very early Nash's Tooth, because it gives you a much earlier spike than going for an early Rod of Ages. So I think it gives you a lot more agency and carry potential. But I think that we haven't seen that 1v9 performance from Nemesis yet, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, because we know we can do it. He has the potential to do it. He's a fantastic mid laner, but the question is, will we see it today against Origen? As it looks like Origen, off to a very early start, utilizing the power of Olaf to invade the early top side. They're trying to split the map up a bit so they can give Alphari the freedom to be aggressive in this 1 versus 1. We talked about it in the first game. We got to remind people again in this game. Gangplank very strong at the 1 to 3 levels. This will force Upset and Destiny to play defensive, as their jungler will not be on the bot side of the map. But Xerxes did have information on Selfmade going to his blue buff, so he's looking to contest.
As the blast going to jump over here, and of course the Undertow can do a lot of damage, but Selfmade's hit it with the Sonic Wave. The smite comes out, and it's Xerxes who secures it. It was 1 HP. That was about as close as you can get.
So that was a pretty big gamble from Xerxes, honestly, but you're right. That smite was only slightly off. Selfmade went for the Q smite Q combo and wasn't quite able to land it, meaning Xerxes is going to end up getting 3 buffs in his favor. This will, of course, allow Selfmade to path from bot up towards top side, so it's not a completely split map, but Alphari now has full information on where the enemy jungler is, which means that he knows how to set up this lane, and he's going to try and push this wave in to get an early bounce, and Upset and Destiny can now feel a little bit safer knowing that their jungler is more so towards the bot side of the map, on top of the fact that this Olaf now has a huge tempo advantage over Selfmade because he's only level 2, Xerxes hitting that level 3, and Olaf, one of the big things that you want to be doing on him is power farming, getting those level advantages, utilizing the fact that you have such a strong jungle clear, and the fact that you can come out of it very healthily as well to then dominate the enemy jungler, keep invading them, keep stealing camps, try and secure all these early scuttle crabs, and then look to go for these 2v2s using the prio that you have in your lanes in order to find some early kills.
And that has to be the goal. Whippo has decided in the top lane to go for a rejuvenation bead here as his first item. He's got the Doran shield now as well, but usually we see a refillable pot. Here, Whippo realizing he's going to be under constant harass in the lane, so he's got the extra health per 5 coming out. It's a little bit of a different itemization choice, but I like it personally. I think it makes a lot of sense when you're being put under the trial by fire so often from Alphari.
This is the second time we're seeing the early teleport come out from Alfari as well. He's going to grab that very early cult and going to continue farming with that very slight CS advantage. Of course, as we are hovering on the mid lane now, you can see the difference in priority is quite stark compared to last game. Nukeduck not going to get bullied around like he was the first time, and of course, Diana is a champion that is melee. She does get into the face of the minions, and that's what Rumble excels against. It's very easy for him to bully around these champs because every time they try to last hit, they're going to get a flamethrower in their face. So Nemesis just kind of has to soak up the damage. He's going to utilize that TP to get back into the lane. He's gone for an early second Doran's Ring. Gives you a little bit of additional AP to help you with the wave clear, help you survive some of the early pressure from Rumble. But I imagine that he's not going to look for any early trades because Diana doesn't really start to impact the map until she gets that Nash's Tooth, but once that comes through, that's when you really need to be afraid of the champ.
Well, we'll see how quickly Nemesis can get towards that power point, that power itemization. At the moment, having a look at just CS across the board, there's a sizable lead for Xerxes. He's been able to put Self-Made quite far behind, just in terms of raw CS, and has actually gone back, picked himself up the Stalker's Blade and a Longsword. So now he's going to steal away these Razor Beaks, and this is what Xerxes does so well, tracking the enemy jungler, keeping him behind early on, and it's what Origen thrive on, because although they don't get a lot of kills in the early game, they're usually very good at shutting down the enemy team as well.
Yeah, it's what Xerxes was known for, especially a lot last year when he was playing for Spice. He was the obnoxious jungler that prevented you from doing pretty much everything that you wanted to do. But now we can see that he's sort of emulating that playstyle, but honestly I just think that he's utilizing this all out very well. I think the invade was smart. I do think that trying to get his blue was a bit of a gamble, but it ended up paying off because he could have lost that smite fight, but now he's in a great position where he secures the first Drake for his team. It looks like the Cloud will again be the second Drake on the map. So we're not going to get the Cloud Soul, unfortunately, this game, Medic.
The one hope I have for this series is that we get a Cloud Soul with a Zillion.
Yeah. We didn't talk much about OG's comp, and the reason why I just want to bring our attention to it is because I am concerned about the amount of crowd control they have when it comes to actually setting up fights later on into the game. Gangplank Ultimate combined with Rumble Ultimate seems strong on paper, but I think what makes it extremely strong is when you look at Fnatic's comp, Senna is going to get very easily zoned away by the huge AoEs of these two champions. And Nemesis is going to easily get separated from his team if he dives in and then these big areas of control come in from behind. So I'm quite interested in how these fights actually play out, because I think that for Fnatic, it could be quite challenging to navigate around the big AoE damage areas that OG's comp will be able to provide, as Nukeduck is styling on Self-Made in that 1 versus 1. But I do think that Fnatic do have extremely strong scaling options. I think Diana is incredibly powerful in a side lane and in teamfights later into the game. I think Senna's only going to get stronger as the game progresses. But then, of course, you can't count out the Ezreal Yuumi. And the big thing this time is that the dive is not as strong as we see a fight kicking off.
Xerxes looking for the Scuttle Crab. It was secured by Self-Made. You could see actually Nukeduck was setting up that play a long time before. Destiny's come in, jumps onto Nukeduck, and there's the exhaust to Nemesis. Nemesis was not expecting that, has to flash away, and will escape for the moment. But that's the flash burn on the Diana.
Pretty good roam there from Destiny to show up in the mid lane. Does invest the exhaust to slow Nemesis down so that he gets stuck on top of the ultimate from Nukeduck. But then he just ends up flashing away. So Flash gets burnt from Nemesis. Flash gets burnt from Xerxes. He does lose the Scuttle Crab, but he still has a level advantage, and he's continuing to power farm. No serious advantages gained in this early game as of yet. And I think, for the most part, both teams are going to be pretty happy with that. Origen definitely going to be much happier, considering what happened to them early on in the last game.
They're already about 1,000 gold behind at this point in the last game, so I think with their 400 gold lead, they should be pretty pleased. They have that first dragon on the board. There's 2.5 minutes to the next one, so we'll be looking at about a 22-23 minute soul if they manage to secure them all. And once again, we see Hylissang and Reckless going for a little bit of a roam as their lane is pushed up, and that is level 6 on Reckless.
So this is something that we didn't talk about last game, Medic, but I think is something that I often forget with Zillion. The ability for him to just give XP to his teammates. is so valuable, especially in this fasting Senna position, because it's easy for the Zilean to be able to gain a big experience advantage. You can see Destiny, after his little roam, is a level down, but this also keeps Senna topped up in terms of that XP and keeps her relevant in the game. And when we think back to last game, Zilean and Senna were always even in levels pretty much throughout the game. So I think it's a very cool thing to see this slight adaptation in terms of the fasting Senna, because I know there was a lot of debate around when we first saw it with the Tahm Kench. Many people were like, do we need to use Tahm Kench? Is there a better option? And I think that as time has gone on, we've started to see different champions be used, things like the Sack, things like the Galio, and now we're getting to see the Zilean come out from Hylissang, and I think it's pretty successful.
And now Fnatic were trying to sneak Selfmade into this bottom lane. They used that Curse of the Black Mists and thought perhaps you can get in around this wave, but because of the wards, one in the Tribush and one in the lane, it makes Origen very safe. They just back off and farm it up. Because they know Selfmade is on the bottom lane, Origen can then start up the Rift Herald.
Exactly. Now, I did like that Bwipo immediately went toward the Rift Herald. So, Fnatic were aware, okay, if our jungle is showing bot, there's a good chance the Rift Herald is going to get started. So, at least we know for sure. And Selfmade is actually making his way up. Look at Diana as well. She's abandoned the wave in mid lane and started moving up into the river. Keeping in mind, Hylissang does have the teleport available as well. Fnatic actually looking for a fight.
Yeah, Bwipo with the call of the Forge God, Ragnarok's pop, but here comes the Dawning Shadow, and you can see that's first blood for Fnatic. They set that one up perfectly. Even without vision, knowing that the Rift Herald could be started, Selfmade running underneath the tower, but he's got Hylissang in support. I was like, mate, what if you get caught there? Oh wait, Chrono Shift exists, and he can just dash back out.
And that looked initially like it was going to be a 3 versus 3, but no, that was a 5 versus 3. Now notice how Rumble has to take the long way around as Diana and Lee Sin are running up through the river. But the TP comes through from Hylissang, and then the ultimate from Senna as well means that all 5 members of Fnatic were here to support this play. Great awareness to punish Origen as they tried to go for this Rift Herald, and a good response from Fnatic will give them a slight gold advantage, but more importantly, they'll secure the first Rift Herald of the game.
And I wonder if Fnatic will then go and challenge at this dragon, because you can see Xerxes made a beeline for it, knowing that Selfmade will be doing that Rift Herald after winning the top lane trade. Fnatic don't really have the vision. Reckless actually burned Flash in the bottom lane while he was participating in the top lane play. I assume Upset and Destiny just tried to engage on him, just jumped on him. Looks like the final chapter was used, so it makes a lot of sense. But Origen will be able to get their second dragon of the game. It's Cloud ready, and we'll see what soul we're going to have. Infernal is the name of the game for this match.
So, Infernal on Rumble and Gangplank is really scary. Fnatic are going to want to really avoid giving that soul over to Origen, and given that they are 2 Drakes up right now, Fnatic, they're going to get to a point soon where they're going to start looking for these fights. If we look at some of the itemization, we can see that Nemesis, very close to completing the Nash's Tooth, has 2 of the components ready. Meanwhile, Nuke Duck looks like that he's got a very early Oblivion Orb along with the Blasting Wand. Now, typically we will see a Liandry's, but by going for this very early Oblivion, it obviously gives you a very early and immediate spike. Often you'll see the Sword Boots paired up with it as well to go for that double penetration, which in the early game when very little magic resist is around can be very effective, which is often what gives Rumble such a powerful mid game, which means that right now Origen I think is setting up very nicely for that 3rd Drake, and I think that they can just continue to play towards these Drake win conditions. And again, I do think that their scaling is pretty strong, but the thing that concerns me is the amount of crowd control that they have in order to successfully set up these fights. Meanwhile, Fnatic looking for a dive in the bot lane. Let's see if they can pull it off.
Well, Origen are going to try and answer. You can see both Xerxes and Nuke are on their way. Final chapter coming out from Upset. He's able to dodge away, and even with the Chrono Shift, this is not a good situation for Fnatic to be in. Selfmade's going to try and get his way away, not tanking up the turret yet. But with the Equalizer coming out, Origen want more than just that first kill. Reckless caught with the Undertow, doesn't have Flash, remember, doesn't really have a way to go. Last Embrace coming out as well as Xerxes caught up. Double teleport used as everyone's going to join the fight in the bottom lane. We're going to have a full 5v5. Bwipo joins the fray. Call of the Forge God lands onto Nuke Duck. He's almost dead, but he manages to head into the bush for the second. Bwipo takes him. Xerxes still alive. Upset caught up in the last Embrace, and Fnatic and now turning this fight around. Alphari has to flash the wall. Destiny jumps to the Upset, but the flash in from Nemesis. The chase on Alphari. One more auto is enough. It's a double for Nemesis. He's caught behind the tower now, and the rest of Fnatic aren't quite there yet. Nemesis almost goes down. The final auto will get him. Bwipo tanking up the turret. Upset's dead. It's only Destiny left alive, and Bwipo ticking, still surviving. Fnatic take down 5 and get 3 out alive.
And that was a fight that should have gone heavily in the favor of Origen, but Fnatic are able to turn it around and find themselves an ace. This is where everything starts. Selfmade, he thinks he's setting up a good play here, but Origen read it, they're ready for the counter. They're able to find that initial pick onto Selfmade, and then with a great Rumble ultimate here from Nuketook, you think that the chase is going to come down. Crucially, note how Xerxes misses his Q here onto Reckless, and then he gets locked up in the middle of the fight. He's chasing to try and get his axe off, which means that they actually don't run Reckless down. His ultimate then splits Origen apart, which means that Fnatic can just chase one target at a time. First take down Nuketook, then take down Xerxes, while Upset is just cut off from the rest of the fight. And you've got to remember that a lot of the core itemization is not done yet for Upset, so he isn't at that point in the game where he's just dishing out tons of damage. Meanwhile, Nemesis is just cleaning up the back end of the fight. He's managed to complete that Nash's Tooth now, and Fnatic, they're not slowing down.
Oh, Bwipo's diving in. Bwipo's dead. That was so greedy from him. Not sure what he thought he was doing, diving underneath the turret. We do come out of that sequence of events with a Fnatic lead, 2,000 gold ahead, but now, as you said, itemization wasn't done for Origen. They do now have Morello complete on Nuketook. Upset has his Manamune stacking up. He's 2-1-1 on this Ezreal, and we know if Upset can get to a late game on Ezreal, he can do a lot of work.
Wow, very early prioritization of the Morello here for Nuketook. That's going to delay his Leandri's power spike, which I do think is a pretty big deal. I wasn't expecting him to go for that this early on, but clearly he's afraid of a lot of the healing that's coming out from the side of Fnatic and wants to try and mitigate it and get rid of it as quickly as he can. But yeah, very surprising, because I do think that Leandri's would overall just give him a lot more damage, especially at this point in the game. Hylissang, though, playing with fire right now as he just uses his high movement speed to just dance around the skill shots of Upset. And you can see that the bot lane of Fnatic now sitting with a level advantage over Upset and Destiny, both also yet to die this game.
Yeah, once again. Although, of course, Reckless was the sole death for Fnatic in Game 1. Obviously needs to be reported for intentional feeding for that one. The only guy to cost them the perfect game, but this game he is doing well so far. Has the Executioners on his way to an Umbral Glaive, and you can see the damage on Upset. Uses the Cleanse. Dawning Shadow used by Reckless as well just for the poke, but Upset down to 300 HP even through the Yuumi healing.
And this is the second time now we've seen this synergy from the Fnatic bot lane really be extremely difficult to deal with. And maybe in terms of the 2v2, it's not that obnoxious, but the moment it gets out of lane, just look at how oppressive it is. Like the poke, the sustain, the survivability, the utility, just everything about this duo is just so obnoxious. And the moment you fall behind, it seems like impossible to stop. Meanwhile, Fnatic have now moved Nemesis off to a side lane. His teleport is, of course, on cooldown, but with the Nash's Tooth completed and the stopwatch, he's going to be very difficult to kill, and I don't think he has to be as afraid of Nuketook as he was during the early laning phase, and same can be said for Bwipo. He has that Sunfire Cape completed, and while Alfari does have the Trinity Force, look at how Bwipo just walks that off. He doesn't care. He's just going to push, and he's going to roam, and he's going to do what Bwipo does as he looks to set up with his team for the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, Fnatic realize they can't give up any more of these dragons, and it looks like Origen are willing to let this one go. Alfari was a little bit too far away. Cannon Barrage only just come off cooldown, so they decide they don't want to fight for the third. The fourth and fifth, I'm sure, will be on the menu. Upset trying to trade here onto Bwipo. Not going to do too much work. Just over the 16-minute mark, and Call of Forge God's being used here in the mid lane. Upset really doesn't have an escape. The final chapter coming out as well, and Upset just rooted to the spot. Selfmade jumps in and takes the kill. Bwipo still tanking the tower, has a Chrono Shift to boot to bring him back alive. And Selfmade will fall to the equalizer. The turret goes down in the mid lane, and Origen might want to keep chasing this one. Bwipo doesn't have flash, does have the exhaust though. Xerxes with the undertows, if he could connect, could do a lot of work, but can't quite find those axes into their marks. And so Origen will call off the fight. Tower falls in the top lane. 2OG is their first of the game.
Ends up being a 1-for-1 overall, 1-for-1 in terms of towers, but Nemesis gained a lot of advantages just by sitting in a side lane, pushing that wave underneath the tier 2, and securing a lot of farm for himself. And this is a look back at the play. Fnatic know that this dive is very safe. They know that there's no plans available on Upset after the early 2v2 that happened in the lane, and Bwipo, he doesn't have to be afraid of setting up this dive because they have the Zillion ultimate. Of course, Bwipo, because it gets used on him, Selfmade has to sacrifice his life, but at the end of the day, that's a worthwhile trade. And if you look at your minimap, you can see that in the bot lane, Nemesis is able to get that big push off, able to reset, and now he's got himself the Seeker's Arm Guard. So, yes, it looks like an even trade, but more resources are just being funneled into the split pusher that is Nemesis. And as long as he's getting stronger while Nuketook just stays the same, this means that the side lane is going to be that much harder to deal with as the game progresses.
It really is. Now that we start to see these first completed items over on Fnatic, they are looking stronger and stronger by the moment. But, of course, Origen, with good scaling, can fight as the game goes on. The question really becomes who deals with Nemesis? Are you going to send Alfari over there? Are you going to send Nuketook over there? it's going to be very difficult for them to actually match up in that 1v1, because if Nemesis jumps on you, you're pretty much donezo.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? I'm interested to see how these fights are going to play out, because obviously with Fnatic in the current state that they're in, Origen probably don't want to force any fights right now. I think that because the Trinity Force has been delayed for Upset, because things like the Leandries have been delayed for Nuke Duck, I think Origen don't feel very strong right now. A lot of the core optimization that this composition relies on is not there yet. Meanwhile, Fnatic can just utilize the fact that they have level advantages, they have gold advantages, they have a lot of utility in their kit with the combination of Ornn and Zilean, that if Origen tried to force a fight against Fnatic right now, it definitely would not go in their favor. So OG going to have to play defensively as they're caught out Reckless.
Ragnarok has used Reckless, has to burn his flash. A little bit greedy to face check into that bush, you have to feel as a Senna, but Hylissang did still have the Chrono Shift, so even if Reckless had died, Fnatic could have jumped back in and tried to take the fight. Hylissang here will get the Time Warp from the slow. You can see Upset having to jump back across the wall. And next steps with the Rift Herald being up, it looks like Fnatic want to do it. They only have about 20 seconds to do this. If you have it aggroed, it will disappear off the map at the 19:55 minute mark. It doesn't look like Origen are going to check it, so it should be pretty easy for Fnatic to take.
I mean, we already talked about how Origen probably don't want to look for fights right now. Yeah. They want to stack up the Mirror Mana. They want to try and complete the Trinity Force on Upset. They want to get Leandries on Upset as quickly as humanly possible. And I ultimately think that Origen just have to play defensively right now. They have to sit and wait, and they can't look to force anything as Fnatic, with the Rift Herald, can continue to push attempts.
And with the speed of Reckless and Hylissang coming in from that bottom lane, Time Warp, from that mid lane, sorry, Time Warp and the Curse of the Black Mist give you such a movement speed buff that you could see Reckless and Hylissang just trying to get up here, making sure that if Origen defended, it would be a 4v3 instead of the 3v2 that it begun. It's a very good position for Fnatic, but Origen are starting to get towards those points you were talking about, Vedius. You know, you've got the Trinity Force now complete on the Ezreal, Mirror Mana fully stacked up, Trinity Force on the Gangplank. You've got Leandries on its way for Nuke Duck. So there is some power starting to make its way into the Origen inventories.
Just looking at across the board, you're right. Some of these big spikes are starting to come through, and that's where Origen should feel a lot more comfortable. Of course, the levels are the thing that they have to be careful of right now. Destiny wants to hit that level 11 mark, so he has 2 points in his ultimate. But this is where I think the game is going to start getting interesting, because
I've been pretty interested already.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, how these fights play out, I think, is super interesting, because typically when you look at Origen, you'd be like, oh, it's a classic wombo combo comp, but the lack of CC concerns me, whereas Fnatic's comp is quite straightforward. You ult, and then you just go in. But because of the amount of zone control that things like a Rumble and the GP provides, I think it's going to change the dynamic of how things have to be played. So you can see Fnatic right now full control of the river. Alphari's going to face check.
He face checks straight into them, able to get away for the moment, but Selfmade's on the chase. Bifo will take the kill with the Call of the Portugal. Now Fnatic can win a 4v5. They can take it. Selfmade low though. Chunked out towards the bottom side. Chrono Shift still available here for Hylissang. You can look. He just steps straight into him. A great double knock up into the Dawning Shadow, and the chase is on. Upsets down to Nemesis. And the Ragnarok is not going to save you for too long. Xerxes, Hylissang on the chase, lands that Chrono Shift. And Origen lose 2 so quickly. Fnatic turned back towards the Infernal Dragon.
Well, that interesting team fight I was looking for kind of fell on its face as Alphari just face-checked the brush. He didn't have vision of the brush. The control ward, of course, did mitigate that, but I'm surprised that he would make that play. He must have believed that Fnatic were on the Drake and this was a safe play to do, but you can see, like, when we get into the replay, if we could show the vision that Origen had when they actually created that play, Nuke Duck now in trouble.
Selfmade still chasing it, flashing forward, 2 kicks into the back. He's got lethality, Vedius. Black Cleaver into Serrated Duck. This Lee Sin is doing work.
Yeah, and Fnatic is now fully in the driver's seat. With the second Infernal in their back pocket, Origen are slowly starting to flounder. They're not finding any good team fights, and yeah, it's just falling apart for Origen. This is not really what we expect to see, but Fnatic with their performance upset now.
Yeah, Selfmade, this is a this is actually, we shouldn't show this online, because this is like more than PG-13. This is rated R material here from Selfmade.
Selfmade just took Upset on an adventure that he did not want to go on, right? He wished he knew where the map was to get out of that situation, because he just got kicked straight in the face. He got sent to Davy Jones' locker with that sort of an adventure as Fnatic looking to secure themselves another tower, but they're taking everything right now off the single of a team fight. So let's have a look at this. When we look at vision, you can see that Alphari, all of the vision is denied. So they think that Fnatic has started this one up. They dropped that wall and they think they're heading in that direction, but then he gets instantly collapsed on. So Alphari thinks he's safe, which is why he makes that play, but then he realizes, oh no, I'm not. And then all the team fight power of OG just collapses. They're a man down. Fnatic know that they can continue to the fight. OG still want to contest the Drake, but honestly, they should have just disengaged. They should have just given up the Drake, but they overcommit. Whipper finds a fantastic double knockup, and then Nemesis comes in from the flank to secure himself a kill. Meanwhile, the rest of Origen is just running away, and let's not forget the 2 kills that Selfmade found onto both Nuke Duck and Upset, showcasing who the true carry of this team really is.
It's been a battle around vision, and I really love Selfmade's itemization because of it. He's gone Umbral Glaive next, so you could see Origen had to face check into no vision for that fight. Nemesis has Sweeper. You've got Sweeper on Mihilisang as well. It's so difficult for Origen to find avenues where they can fight. And you've got double Umbral Glaive.
So, the thing is, the reason why Selfmade, I mean, it's not that uncommon to see, like, Black Cleaver on a Lee Sin, but it's really important that he had it early, because in terms of Ornn upgrade itemizations, it's not actually a great comp from Fnatic, because until you get Zhonya's, and even Zhonya's, right, like, it's not a great item to upgrade for Ornn. Like, it's not terrible, but and Reckless, you can also see that he's decided to go for the Ghost Blade second as well, so that the Ornn can also give another upgrade to there. And we get to see the Locket come out from Whipper, which is something that we've been seeing a lot more on top lane Ornns, because I think it helps really mitigate a lot of damage. So I think with the current state of things, with the itemization that's coming through, with the fact that Fnatic is going to secure a completely uncontested Baron, they're looking to go 2-0 up in this series. Origen continue to get routed. Fnatic have continuously outplayed Origen throughout this series. We get a TP into the bot lane here.
Final chapter's being used as Origen look for a fight. Dawning Shadow coming out as well, but Reckless back above half HP straight away. Upset just gets deleted with the Dragon's Rage. And Origen run for the hills. That was a 4v5, and Origen are the ones retreating. This game has snowballed totally out of their control. It's a 9,000 gold lead for Fnatic, and after it looked relatively even, after it looked close, it's anything but. Fnatic dive into the base, past the inhibitor towers. They're not inhibiting anything. They are allowing Fnatic to step forward, and Origen can do nothing about it.
Meanwhile, Hylissang split pushing in the bot lane. He does it on Pyke, he's doing it on Zilean. He used that TP to set up the next wave for Fnatic to follow up on. The death time is just still long for 2 members, and Fnatic with all 5, they're looking to end this game. The first game was, what, 27, 28 minutes? Fnatic looking to match that record, but they don't want to overextend. They're just going to reset, they're just going to spend their gold and look to close this one out cleanly.
And speaking of gold, there is a 3,000 gold lead in the middle for Nemesis right now.
So let's have a look back at this play. We can see that in terms of numbers, Origen have the advantage, but they just can't find a good fight. Upset ends up being on the front line, while Nuke Duck and Xerxes are just trying to disengage. Nemesis just hunting down targets, seeing who he can find, and another good Q lands onto Selfmade. When Bwippo and Nemesis dive in, the damage is just too much. There's nothing that Origen can do. An easy cleanup from the side of Fnatic.
I actually really love the lethality coming out from Selfmade as well, because it mitigates the healing from Destiny. If you burst someone quickly enough, it doesn't matter that you have healing, because they're dead, right? You can't heal a dead thing.
Accurate,
You can't
correct.
bring it back to life. You can't resurrect the dead. So if Upset is dead before any of that healing can come in, then it's so good for Fnatic. They're in such a good position at the moment as they look to push in the bottom lane with Hylissang and with Selfmade, and the top lane is the Reckless and Nemesis show. Eddie, I don't think any of us expected it to be this one-sided. Fnatic have been absolutely on the ball. And Origen, I would say they're licking their wounds, but right now it doesn't even seem like they have the ability to slow this game down.
I mean, you can see that Origen tried to run it back in the second game. They went for the early Ezreal pick this time around again, and they haven't been able to answer what Fnatic has been drafting. And this game looked a little bit closer. I thought we could see a better team fight, but Origen, they just got like one big mistake from Alphari. cost Origen everything. And now Fnatic with the Baron, they're taking down the third inhibitor. They're looking around the game. Good kick.
Oh, Alphari kicked back into the team. Call of the Forge God coming out as well, and Alphari will be locked up. Already Xerxes dead. You can see the root on self-made, but he's got the chrono shift. I even forgot about it. We haven't even had to see it used. The dive onto the backline by Nemesis catches them just before they can get to the sweet release of the fountain and gives them instead the sweet release of death. It's a triple kill for Nemesis. The Nexus towers are falling, and Fnatic in dominant fashion are looking to dive onto the fountain. Destiny kills Hylissang, but he will fall in the favor. Fnatic 2-0 against Origen.
This was the 1v9 performance we wanted to see from Nemesis on Diana. Extremely strong. This time around, Reckless did not die. 1-0-16, making up for his first game blunders. Overall, extremely clean game. Very surprised that Selfmade ended up with 9 kills at the end of that game, considering for the first 15 minutes he was 1-1-0. Fnatic overall having another fantastic game, and they are making Origen look like a team that did not belong in the top 3 during the regular season. These two teams were close. They were competitive, but right now there is a clear gap between Fnatic and Origen, and Fnatic are stamping their authority on their opposition.
And it's everyone on Origen stepping up as well. It's not on Fnatic stepping up as well. It's not just an individual player making outplay after outplay, although a lot of them are doing that. Every player is playing their part. Every player is bringing something unique to the table, and it's just so much fun to watch right now. I wonder how Origen are going to change their draft coming into the next series, the next game, because I really feel like Senna feels like a must ban right now.
I mean, that's the debate, right? Will Origen choose to go on blue side? Will they try to change things up? Of course, you then give Fnatic the ability to flex, which then naturally makes things even harder. But Origen, their backs are against the wall, and based on what we've seen so far, this is looking like a 3-0 for Fnatic. This is what we expected G2 to do to Mad. This is what yesterday was supposed to look like, and this was supposed to be the close game, Medic. But right now, Fnatic is coming into playoffs looking like a team on a mission to reclaim that title.
Well, we'll see if they can do it. They have to get through one more game against Origen at least. But after the break, analysts will take a look at the reasons for Fnatic's success as they prepare for match point.